Hey there, estate planning attorney Paul Rabalais here, and in this video I'm going to give you 4 factors that you need to consider when you are leaving something to someone. Okay, so let's say you want to leave your house to someone. Sounds pretty simple, sounds simple enough, but since you don't know when you're going to pass away and you don't know the circumstances that will be, in effect at that time, leaving something to someone in your will or trust can be tricky. So here are 4 factors that go into leaving or bequeathing an asset to somebody. First factor is, who do you leave it to? Do you leave that particular asset to one person? Do you leave it to multiple people? I leave the family farm to my children. And if you leave it to your children, does that include your stepchildren? Does that include children you've adopted? Does it include children you've given up for adoption? So you got to be clear about that. What if you leave things to grandchildren? A lot of people in their estate planning documents will say something like, I leave $25,000 to each of my grandchildren. So does that include only the grandchildren that you have when you write your will? Does it include the grandchildren that you have from the time that you wrote your will until you pass away? And what if you have grandchildren after you pass away? So got to be clear about the who. The second factor that you want to consider is the what. Sounds pretty simple. I leave my home to so-and-so. Well, is it only the home that you live in when the will was written? But what if you sell that home and then move into another home and you have that other home when you pass away? Does the bequest of the home that was in your will, does that include a home that you get after you sign your will? What if you have 2 homes when you pass away? And then what if there's a mortgage on the home when you pass away? Does that person that you leave the home to inherit it subject to the mortgage so that they are responsible for all of the mortgage payments after you pass away? Or does the person you leave the home to inherit it in a manner so that other cash or other assets in your estate are used to satisfy the mortgage or pay off the mortgage so that person you leave the house to inherits it free of any mortgage? You got to be clear about that. It's exactly the same issue with vehicles. If you leave, your vehicle to someone, does that mean just the vehicle that you have when you write the will? Does it include all the vehicles that you have when you pass away? What if there's a car loan on the car when you pass away? How does that get addressed? So other issues regarding the what are, what if you leave stock in a company to someone? What if that stock splits after you write the will? What if that company merges into another company after you write the will? So you got to be clear about the what. The third factor on leaving something to someone is the how. That's the old outright or in trust conversation. Maybe you leave $100,000 to each of your grandchildren. Some of your grandchildren are adults and they're very mature, but maybe some of your grandchildren are minors. You never want to leave an inheritance outright to a minor because judges get involved. Judges have to oversee the expenditure. The inheritance gets dumped into the minor's lap on their 18th birthday. So when you're leaving something to someone who's a minor or who's maybe not financially mature to handle a lump sum, then you leave it to a trust. So that's the how you leave it to them. And if you do leave it to them in a trust, who's going to be the trustee of that trust to manage it for that other person? Under what circumstances can distributions be made from the trust to that beneficiary? And then when does this trust terminate and the assets get turned over to the beneficiary? So all that is part of the how you leave something to someone. And then the fourth and final factor that goes into making a decision to leave something to someone is, what if that person that you left it to dies before you? They predecease you. So let's say you leave $500,000 to your older brother. Well, because he's your older brother, there's a pretty good chance he's going to pass away before you. So what happens to that $500,000? Does it go to his wife? Does it go to his kids? Does it go back into the proverbial pot for the other heirs to share in that $500,000? So that's the fourth factor that needs to be addressed when you leave something to someone is, what if that person predeceases you? And because wills and trusts are written now, but they don't go into effect for decades into the future, sometimes when you're preparing your will or trust, you have to, or you need to account for potential changes in family circumstances in the future, or you need to plan to update those estate planning documents as those family life circumstances change. So hope that helps. Make sure you click the subscribe button, the notification bell. That way you don't miss anything. Give me a thumbs up. That helps my algorithms, as they say. We'll see you next time.